Hi, I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stuart Stewart, and welcome to another episode of Alive on South Beach.
A show with a little bit of this and a little bit of that.
There's always stories about crime in the newspaper, and I always wondered, how do these reporters get the information, get the quotes, get to speak to these people who won't even speak to the police? And when I had an opportunity to meet our next guest, I got all excited because she's going to answer some of those questions for me. Okay, sitting next to me is a woman who you might say has seen it all. This is Edna Buchanan, and she is a Pulitzer Prize winning reporter who covered the police beat here for the Miami Herald. Welcome aboard here.
Oh, I'm so glad to see you again.
I gotta ask you a question. What was it like in those days being a police reporter and being a female?
Well, there weren't many women in the newsroom back then, and I just sort of gravitated to the police beat and really loved it, and it was remarkable. It was so exciting, and I learned so much because out there on the street covering the police beat, it's like Shakespeare in the Raw. Every single day out there you have Romeo and Juliet, King Lear, Macbeth, and sometimes on a bad day they were all throwing rocks at you or something, you know. But the stories, you know, you can't learn as much about human nature, and it was never boring. And it may have been dangerous, but I never noticed because I always felt I was on a mission for the Herald, and I was wrapped in this cloak of invincibility that nothing could ever happen to me. And during that time of the perfect storm, when we had the Mariel boat lift, we had the McDuffie riots and the cocaine wars with the cocaine cowboys, and we had the highest murder rate in the nation. Just about everyone in our newsroom was victimized at one point or other, robbed at gunpoint, threatened, injured, one was stabbed. And I was running around in the night, in the dark, in bad neighborhoods, looking for witnesses, looking for victims, and nothing ever happened.
Well, when you started out at that period in our culture, the police didn't really respect reporters, and they certainly didn't respect women reporters. How did you get their respect and get them to give you the information you needed to do your job?
It was interesting. I think just because I was always there, I would always show up at the murder scenes. In fact, once one of the anchors on local television said it wouldn't be a murder without Edna. She's always there. And I would just keep showing up, and I would make sure that I did the right thing, that I always kept a confidence, that I never burned a source, and that it would help because the police can only do so much, and 500,000 readers out there who are aware of the description of a killer or some other criminal, or the description of the getaway car or the family heirlooms that were stolen, the good readers would always respond. Putting it in the newspaper works. You know, people do react, they do respond, and sometimes the only friend that a victim has is a good reporter who will tell the story right, and it makes things happen.
What was the transition that you made from being a reporter to being an author? Were you writing while you were a reporter and waited for your book to be published, or did you just one day say, I did enough of this, I now want to write some books, and you sat down and just started writing books?
Well, you know, journalism was a lucky accident. I happened to get a job at a newspaper, but I never planned it. I never went to journalism school.
Which newspaper?
And, well, I started at the Miami Beach Sun, the little tabloid here on the beach, and it was not a tabloid in that, you know, current sense of the word. It was a really good little daily newspaper here on the beach, and I learned a lot there, and after 5 years there, I got a job at the Herald. When I was 4 years old, I told everybody, including the mailman, that I was going to write books when I grew up, and I couldn't read yet myself, but I loved stories so much. My mother read to me, and they brought me so much pleasure that I thought, that's what I'm going to do when I grow up. I'm going to write books, and that was always my goal.
What did it feel like when you heard that you have a book that won the Pulitzer Prize?
Oh, it wasn't a book. It was for a body of work, 10
Even
stories.
better.
10 stories that I wrote in 1985. Some were on 1A. There were projects I had done. about the highway robbers that were throwing refrigerators and stoves down the overpass and making cars crash and then robbing the occupants. And that was
only in
going on,
Miami.
Yeah, and that was going on for months, and the police said there was no way to stop it. They couldn't, patrol every overpass, every place where the highway snaked through. So, but once I did the big story about it, and I even went out and found some of the robbers and talked to them. But after that story, the governor sent in planes, helicopters, the National Guard, and we got them all. A good story in the newspaper can cut through red tape like a razor, and you can get results, and you can really help people. So that was just one of the 10 stories they sent as an entry for the Pulitzer Prize, and I won it in '86.
And what was the first thing that went on in your mind? You won this. Did you ever believe when you said you were going to be a writer that you were going to be a Pulitzer Prize winning writer?
It never even occurred to me, that the thought never did. The only Pulitzer I was familiar with was Roxanne, Pulitzer when she
I remember her.
And so it was really surprising. And I had just gotten the book contract for The Corpse Had a Familiar Face. And so I was home, I had taken all my vacation time and I was working on the book, and they asked me to come in that day. It was, I think, April 17th of 1986. And they announced the Pulitzers. And the first thing that went through my mind was that this was a victory for all of the beat reporters out there in the trenches, working every day. Because for a long time it was only groups of reporters or entire newsrooms. The two finalists that I was up against in the final, which I found out later, in my category of general reporting, one was the entire staff of the Boston paper, and the other was the entire staff of the Dallas morning paper.
These two
big
big teams, and you competed against them, and you're a one-man team, and you won. How'd that make you feel?
It made me, I really didn't feel like I deserved the credit, but I felt like all the beat reporters out there working every day on their beats and mining them for gold and finding stories and digging them out and telling the truth and making things happen. It was for all of them. I've written 18 books.
Wow.
3 of them were non-fictions, that means 15 were novels.
Well, I have a book in my hand. Is this one of the 18 or is this number 19?
This is 18.
This is 18. And it's called A Dark and Lonely Place. And I just wanted to hold it up for the camera and tell everybody that they can get this where? In bookstores like Books and Books?
Yes, I think the official publication date, the release date, is November 8th. This is the first one hot off the press. So November 8th, I'm doing a signing at Books and Books in Coral Gables. And then I'm going to be at the book fair, and that will really be the kickoff for the book at Books and Books on the 8th.
This has been really interesting.
Oh yeah, you made it so easy. Thank you.
Well, we're just having a conversation and having a cup of coffee, and thanks for joining me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Dina.
This week was Halloween, and of course we wanted to participate because Halloween on South Beach is unlike Halloween anyplace else. Sometimes you're not even sure if people are dressed up in costume. But of course, I wanted to be a princess, so I had my makeup done. And you weren't sure what you wanted.
I never know what I want to be when I grow up, first of all. So we went around and we tried different things, and this is what we did.
Look how I look.
Let me get that a little close up. You look great.
Yeah.
You look about 20 years younger. Wow.
Zombies and we are dead in South Beach.
You know, when people know celebrities or know of them and then the celebrities disappear, everybody always wonders, whatever happened to? So today we're going to institute a new segment called Whatever Happened To, and wait till you meet who we met. The Witness Protection Program has always been something that we thought was created here in the United States. But history has shown us that it was created hundreds of years ago in France. And it was after the French Revolution. It was at a time when Cardinal Richelieu really ran the country, and it was the musketeers that saved the king and saved the country. But afterwards, instead of being rewarded, they were condemned, and there were warrants out for their arrest, and they just disappeared. And now, a couple of hundred years later, I'm proud to say I found one of them. Ladies and gentlemen, this is D'Artagnan. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Bonjour.
How long have you been in hiding?
About a couple of centuries now.
What have you been doing with your time all these years?
Well, you know, basically trying to fit into these pants on a regular basis, and you know, do what I can for the Queen. I still do what I can for the Queen. Is there still a Queen?
Is there any specific Queen that you do this for?
I don't know. I'm on South Beach. I heard there were a lot of Queens.
Yeah.
So I just thought that this would be a good place for D'Artagnan.
Absolutely.
And I always thought my name was D'Artagnan, like I had a dark tan. I didn't know that there was a T-A-G-N-O-N. So there's like this French little conundrum happening.
Oh, well.
So I came here for D'Artagnan.
Also, you have to understand that I usually mess up names anyway. So
well,
give us the correct pronunciation, and this is for the world. How would you pronounce it?
D'Artagnan.
Say again.
D'Artagnan.
D'Artagnan.
Yes, D'Artagnan.
Okay.
That's what the king would call me on the side when we would hang out together before we were banished. It's.
Do you miss the castle?
I do. I miss that whole thing. But I love the Deco district.
Well, you see, this is really the place to be.
Yeah,
and here's a man who isn't here by choice. But are you sorry you're here?
No, I think that life brought me here, and I feel that I'm in as good a place as I was when I was protecting the castle.
And if anybody would like to come down and talk with D'Artagnan about the old days and get an idea of what it's about, where do you usually hang out?
Well, you can call 1-800-D'Artagnan and always find me there, and then I have a website called D'Artagnan.com, which is also available for
okay, so there you are, folks. Well, thank you very much. This has been a great interview.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been a
bonjour.
Bonjour, très bien. And
Nescafé, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
I guess the best way to describe the next segment is to just say it was an identity crisis.
Hi, I'm Stuart Stewart.
No, I'm Stuart Stewart.
I'm Stuart Stewart.
No, I'm Stuart Stewart, and I'm alive on South Beach.
And I'm Stuart Stewart, and I'm alive on South Beach.
You look like somebody I know. Very familiar.
Stuart Stewart.
Oh.
I'm Dina Stewart.
And I'm Stuart Stewart, and this has been Alive on South Beach for syndicatednews.net.